If you're having trouble writing complete sentences, and you know because your instructor will be writing comments such as run together or comma splice or fragment in the margins of your essays, then you want to start at the beginning with fragments. You want to understand fragments. So what is a fragment? A fragment is a phrase or clause punctuated as a complete sentence. However, it's not a complete sentence because it's missing a subject, a verb, and or a complete thought. There are two kinds of fragments. One kind is a phrase fragment. And a phrase fragment can be either a noun phrase like the washed up rock star, which you can see is missing a verb. The washed up rock star it can serve well as a subject, but it needs a verb. Another kind of phrase fragment is a verb phrase fragment, like had been trying to break into the music scene for years, works perfectly well as a verb of a sentence, but it has no subject. A third kind of phrase fragment is a prepositional phrase fragment, like into the muddy river. You've got a preposition and an object of a preposition, but you don't have a subject or a verb. So in a moment, I'm going to ask you to pause this video, and what I want you to do is write down these fragments and then complete them. I also want you to identify them as noun, verb, or prepositional phrase fragments. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and get back to me. This is how I completed the fragments. The washed up rock star was a noun phrase fragment and needed a verb. I gave it a verb and an object. The washed up rock star traded his Rolls Royce in for Prius. Into the muddy river is a prepositional phrase fragment. I had to give it a subject and a verb. The boy dove into the muddy river. Drove the car into the parking lot is a verb phrase fragment, and all it needed was a subject. Jeremy drove the car into the parking lot. At the end of a long day, another prepositional phrase fragment, needs a subject and a verb. I watched my favorite movie for the 115th time at the end of a long day. The dentist holding the noisy drill is a noun phrase fragment, works well as a subject of this sentence. He had an evil grin on his face. The second kind of fragment is a clause fragment, and it's a dependent clause punctuated as a complete sentence. That means it has a dependent word such as after, although, because, if, since, unless, and in your grammar book you probably have a list of at least 20 more of these kinds of words, these dependent words. A clause fragment begins with a dependent word. And when you have a clause fragment, such as this one, since I love British rock, you need to lean that clause fragment up against a complete sentence in order to create a correct, complete sentence. So I'm going to ask you to pause the video once again, and I'm going to ask you to write down those 3 clause fragments and complete them. Lean them up against complete sentences to create correct, complete sentences. So go ahead and pause the video again. So this is how I completed those dependent clause fragments. Since I love British rock, I am saving up money to buy a first-class ticket to London. After their first hit, they became instant millionaires. If Depeche Mode were still making music, they would have to change their hair. All right, now it's all you. Here are 3 phrase fragments that need to be leaned up against complete sentences in order to create correct complete sentences. So go ahead and do that.